The morning Victoria Langford called the sheriff because I planted tomatoes in my own backyard was the day Serenity Bay Estates learned what happens when a neighborhood busybody picks the wrong quiet guy to bully. What she didn't know was that the difficult new accountant she'd been whispering about to every mailbox cluster had spent 27 years spotting financial fraud, and her little kingdom of made-up rules and secret invoices was about to get the audit of a lifetime. I moved to Serenity Bay 3 years ago after retiring from forensic accounting in Charlotte. The plan was simple: grow vegetables, fix up an old fishing boat, and finally enjoy mornings on the water without spreadsheets. The neighborhood looked perfect on paper: manicured lawns, a sparkling lake, kids on bikes. What the realtor forgot to mention was Victoria Langford, HOA president for 9 straight years, and her army of pastel polo shirts who treated the bylaws like holy scripture. The trouble started with the path. My corner lot sat right against the community fishing pier. Years before I arrived, board members and their friends had worn a shortcut straight through what became my backyard. No easement on any deed, just habit. Entitled footsteps crushing my new sod every single morning like they own the place. I tried being neighborly at first. I waved. I said good morning. Victoria would breeze past in her golf cart, chin high, like I was the help. Then one Saturday I laid out raised garden beds exactly along the property line and added a low white picket fence to keep the deer out. The path was gone. Tomatoes, peppers, and zucchini now grew where her size 7 loafers used to tread. That Monday she showed up at 7:15 a.m. Hands on hips, lipstick the color of rage. "Marcus, this is completely unacceptable," she announced loud enough for the neighbors walking their labs to hear. "You're blocking established community access to the lake. The character of Serenity Bay depends on these shared pathways." I kept watering my tomatoes. "Morning, Victoria. It's my yard. Survey pins are right there under the stones. You want to reach the pier. The public trail is 2 minutes longer. Nice day for a walk." Her nostrils did that little flare thing. "The board will be handling this. Expect to hear from us." 2 days later a sheriff's deputy rolled up while I was staking tomato cages. "Mr. Donnelly? Got a complaint about you obstructing a community right-of-way." I laughed. Genuinely. "You mean my backyard?" The deputy looked embarrassed already. He checked the plat map on his tablet, saw the pins, and sighed. "Yeah. This is your property. I'll tell her it's a civil matter." He left shaking his head. Victoria wasn't done. 3 days later I received a certified letter, $750 fine for unauthorized landscaping modification and interference with HOA common area access. No hearing. Just pay or face liens. That's when the old instincts kicked in. I'd been slandered before, back in Charlotte. A crooked supervisor spread rumors that I was the leak in an investigation. The whispers followed me here too. Victoria made sure everyone knew the new guy was difficult and probably hiding something. I stayed quiet. Smiled at the mailbox. Let them talk. But inside I was already pulling the original 1998 plat maps, the recorded covenants, and every board minute I could request. No easement. Never had been. The shortcut was a squatter's right dressed up as tradition. I sent a polite dispute letter citing the deed. Victoria denied it within 48 hours and tacked on another $500 fine for failure to comply. That's when I decided the long game was on. With help from a buddy who still practices land use law, I filed paperwork with the county to designate the worn path as a private permissive access route across my lot. Nothing illegal. Nothing commercial. Just a simple keypad gate and a small electronic reader for a $5 voluntary path maintenance contribution. The county approved it in 30 days. I framed the approval letter and hung it beside the gate like a trophy. The morning the gate went live, I sat on my back porch with coffee and waited. Victoria arrived in her golf cart like she was leading a cavalry charge. Perfect silver bob. HOA polo. Khakis pressed within an inch of their life. She stumped up to the shiny new gate. Jabbed the keypad like it had personally insulted her grandmother. Nothing happened. She spun around. Face crimson. This is outrageous. You cannot monetize community access. I didn't even stand up. It's not community access. Victoria. It's my land. Pay the $5 or take the scenic route. Proceeds go to the county food bank. I already donated last week's take. Her mouth opened and closed like a landed base. A couple of neighbors had gathered at a respectful distance. Phones out. Filming the show. One kid on a bike actually clapped. She stormed off muttering about lawsuits and preserving neighborhood standards. By the end of the week the gate had collected $42, mostly from teenagers who thought it was hilarious and one dog walker who paid just to see Victoria's reaction. I sent every penny to charity with receipts posted on the neighborhood app. Victoria escalated the only way she knew how, more paper. A cease and desist from the HOA's attorney claiming I was running an illegal business on residential property. The letter was so poorly researched it cited a zoning rule repealed in 2019. I didn't answer the lawyer. Instead I printed flyers. Bought 3 dozen donuts. And invited every homeowner to a county zoning clarification meeting. The room was standing room only. Victoria arrived late. Saw the crowd. And her smile froze like cheap Botox. The zoning officer reviewed my documents. Nodded. And said, "Mr. Donnelly's gate and access system are fully permitted. No violations." A ripple of applause went through the room. Victoria's face went from confident to cornered in 3 seconds flat. I thought that might be the end. It wasn't. 3 nights later my security cameras caught everything. At 2:41 a.m. A hooded figure with a slight hitch in her left knee, exactly the way Victoria walked after bragging about her old tennis injury, crept across my lawn with bolt cutters. She spent 9 minutes mangling the keypad and ripping down the sign before vanishing into the dark. I burned the footage onto a thumb drive and drove straight to the sheriff's office. The deputy watched it twice. That's bold. Victoria was brought in for questioning. She claimed she was home asleep. The timestamp video, plus her distinctive limp and the monogrammed golf cart visible in the background, said otherwise. She got a citation for trespassing and vandalism. The HOA board started distancing themselves faster than rats off a sinking yacht. But the real explosion was still coming. During the chaos, the new vice president, a nervous accountant named Philip, quietly asked if I'd look at some financial records. Turns out my little gate fight had made people brave enough to ask questions they'd swallowed for years. What I found made my old fraud hunter heart sing. Invoices for landscaping that never happened. Payments to Bayview Ground Services, a company registered to Victoria's niece at a P.O. Box 2 towns over. Over $45,000 funneled in 2 years while the community pool stayed closed for budget reasons and the fall festival was canceled twice. I didn't gloat. I handed everything to the county prosecutor with a bow on top. The raid happened on a Tuesday morning. Victoria was arrested at her home in yoga pants and a face mask. Looking exactly like the kind of woman who'd call the cops on a garden. The local paper ran the mugshot under the headline HOA president charged in $45,000 embezzlement scheme. Neighbors gathered in my driveway, not to cheer. Though a few couldn't hide their grins, but because they finally understood how deep the rot had gone. The board was dissolved. A special election brought in normal people who actually liked living here. They passed term limits. mandatory independent audits, and scrap dozens of stupid rules, like fining people for bird feeders too close to the sidewalk or American flags 1 inch too tall. I kept the gate, but removed the payment system. Now it just says private property, ask nicely. Kids still knock when they want to fish. I always say yes. Some evenings I sit on the porch watching the sun set over the lake. The same path now clearly marked as mine. The neighborhood feels different, lighter. People actually talk to each other instead of reporting each other. Last week a young couple painted their front door a cheerful teal. Nobody filed a complaint. Victoria took a plea deal, restitution, probation, and a lifetime ban from any HOA board in the state. Last I heard she moved in with her sister in a condo complex with its own HOA. I almost feel sorry for them. Almost. So here's the question. Folks, drop it in the comments. Was I wrong for protecting my own backyard and shining a light on years of quiet theft? Or is the real crime letting people like Victoria Langford rule small kingdoms until someone finally has the guts to say enough? Who is really in the wrong here?